Wow, wow, wow. It's so interesting to be here again. Today we are going to continue our sex education talk. And today, particularly, I'm going to be educating parents on the effects of dopamine in the brain. I'm going to give us a little understanding of what happens or how dopamine affects the brain of the child. My name is Rukyokoh. I'm a parenting coach, and we've been going through a 10-day series on sex education. So, like I said earlier on, today we are going to be talking about the effect of dopamine on the teenage brain. Yes, we're actually talking about porno addiction for teenagers. I saw a recent research that showed that amongst the people that were questioned about addiction to pornography, they had a larger population of teenagers that were between the ages of 17. And from these teenagers, 16% of them actually stormed into porno by accident. So it's not like they intended going into it. It was just by accident. I will always tell us that the digital world has made it a free access. So it's not like something, it's no longer something that is hidden. It's something that people can just even walk into. And it takes a lot of discipline to be able to walk away from it. And we were able to establish that what really happens is addiction comes as a result of a teenager not being able to control their indulgence when it comes to explicit content. So it's like the content becomes what controls them. They cannot live without it. So that's the point of addiction. So what really happens? Why is it that we have the teenagers more vulnerable to addiction of pornography? It is because their brain is still young and developing. And what simply happens is dopamine is being stimulated. And dopamine is a neurotransmitter that brings about excitement, that brings about, it's a kind of pleasure neurotransmitter that talks about your pleasure, it gives a kind of mood to the body system. So you discover that when a child is watching pornography, even adults, there is this kind of excitement that comes in, like making it intoxicating. Okay, let me use that language. I think that sounds very okay. That makes it look very intoxicating. And once it's not controlled, it becomes an addiction. And so what happens is this dopamine, because the brain of the teenager, after the first age of childhood, talking about the development of the brain, the next stage or the next set of people that the brain is still less developed and is still in the developing stage are the teenagers. You discover that for a child, normally, they are able to take in anything very fast. You want to teach your child your local language. It's not difficult for a child to learn local language if they start teaching them immediately. That's why training has to start from the foundation. That's just the basic truth. Everything that is started from the foundation grows up with a child and is able to become an habit. It becomes an influence on the child. And it's the same way pornography affects the teenage brain. Because this brain is still developing, it is very easy for it to impress it on the child and becomes a routine and becomes a norm. It's so easy for it to stay on the child's brain. And that is how a child gets addicted to pornography. And some of the challenges with pornography, for those that says it doesn't matter, is it not just pornography? One of the challenges that come with pornography is depression. It brings about depression. Since it stirs up excitement, it causes this kind of swing of mood. And you discover that once the child or the person is not on set, or is not engaged in the activities, not doing something related to it, or it's not stimulating that excitement, the opposite of being happy is sad. So the opposite of being excited is being depressed. So it brings about depression and anxiety, which is on the negative. The second thing that happens to a child that is addicted to pornography is this is the child's ability, or a teenager's ability, to interact in social situations. They cannot interact outside, because most times the brain is already being controlled by an external factor or an internal factor. So interaction, most times, in fact, the other time we talked about some of the signs of a child being indulged, or that a child that is being indulged in pornography. They are always alone. They want to be around either people that are into stuff like that, or they just want to be by themselves. Ordinarily, it's a shameful thing. So already a lot of them will be feeling that sense of shame. But they don't go out. They are not usually social, because they just enjoy being themselves, enjoy being with themselves. Another thing that happens when a child is addicted to pornography is they have emotional challenges, bonding with parents, bonding with family members. Because they are so engrossed with something else, they cannot relate their emotions with people. And of course, it's already something that is shameful. So it's not something they will be able to open up, and they will bottle it in their emotions. So they have emotional trouble relating with family members and people alike is. Another thing that is attributed to pornography addiction is bad behavior. The child becomes unruly. It's something we notice it all the time. Easily irritated, become unruly, because he's already, it's no longer natural. It's something that the brain is being stimulated unnaturally. So every little thing triggers the child. Every little thing triggers the teenager. Then sexual aggression. Most teenagers that are into pornography, most of them, you discover they are into masturbation. Yes. And a lot of them are, after a while of being into masturbation, they start looking for an opposite sex, or even the same sex, to practicalize what has been seen. So you see, it brings about sexual aggression and sexual perversion. The other point I have here is it brings about low self-esteem. Low self-esteem. They're always feeling withdrawn now. It's just natural to always want to feel withdrawn. The child wants to always do things on his own. There is no way you will be indulged in something that is not good and you will be excited about it. It's just like you going out and telling your parents, oh, I've been watching this kind of thing, I've been watching porn. Who will do that? Who can do that? It's not possible. So it takes away the confidence of a child. I just made mention of something. Most children or adolescents that are involved in pornography, they are most times involved in masturbation. They want to practicalize it. So these things linger onto the future. I have heard of cases where women get married and they are not able to sleep with their husbands, but they rather want to excite themselves with their body. What's the cause of it? These are some things that translates from just the natural to even the future. And I would not fail to always say it has a spiritual effect, both in the teenager's destiny, future life, and even in their spiritual life. The enemy takes advantage of it to manipulate their destiny and even to harass them in dreams. Yes, in dreams. I was jokingly telling my children in church some time ago. I said, have you watched a movie to a point that when you sleep, you become the character and you're like, you continue watching it because maybe there was no light or you didn't have an opportunity to watch it? They all agreed, and it's the same thing with pornography. The enemy takes advantage of it and presents characters to pollute the destinies of teenagers. So please, parents, the effects is adverse. I said pornography addiction can lead to bad behavior. And a larger population of these teenagers that are involved in pornography that especially becomes addicted, they enter into drugs. They enter into alcohol. They enter into tobacco. So it's one leading to the other. One leading to the other. And that's why we need to watch it. What can we do? How can we help an adolescent that is already addicted to pornography? How can you, as a parent, help your teenager that is already addicted to pornography? Number one, make the child know that he is not alone. Don't be judgmental. It's not time to start placing blames. Hey, I didn't know this is what you have been doing since when you've been sitting in the room. This, that. It's not time to start portioning blame. No, it's not time for that. Make them understand that they are not alone in the journey. And you feel their pains, you feel whatever they are going through. Secondly, seek professional help. You can take them to a therapist. You can take them to a counselor. Seek professional help. Because the truth is, you can't do everything on your own. Depending on the degree, you would need somebody to help you. So seek professional help. Then, number 3, introduce alternative activities. And that's why sporting events is very important. Recently, we were trying to sort out a case about a child. And one of the measures that we are trying to help the child from being so distracted, so absent-minded, is by engaging the child with sporting activities. It was found out that the child loves football and is a very good footballer. So as much as possible, we encourage that child to be fully involved in sports. Yes, because it's something the child likes. It's something he gets excited. So it stimulates that excitement in him. So it gets them involved in alternative activities like sports. Even journaling can also help. If the child can do creative drawing, it can also help. Anything that can help the child get him engaged and maybe taking his mind or his heart from that pornography would go a very long way to help. Number 4, gradually remove exposure. It might be so difficult to just take out the device from the child, yes, because the effect is so intense. To avoid more harm than good, so you need to have a detox plan. It's a gradual process. So you should be patient because it's going to take a process. It's going to take a time. It's going to take some time. So gradually begin to remove exposure to device and anything that will make the child go back into it. Number 4, try to observe the triggers. And when you know the triggers, you are able to work with it. It's possible that an association of friends triggers that urge. I had a story of a close relative of mine that had the challenge of, his wasn't pornography this time around. He was addicted to some hard drugs. And one thing that I believe it was just a miracle, that one way that God used in helping him get out of the addiction was, he discovered that anytime he comes around his friends, he started feeling nauseated. So once he starts feeling nauseated, he will have to leave there because everybody will start screaming, "Are you okay? Why do you want to throw up? Why do you want to vomit?" Stuff like that. And gradually, because that environment became toxic to his system, the more he avoided the environment, the more the urge died. And that was how the urge died totally. So as parents, we should try to observe the triggers. What actually triggers this urge? Is it association of friends? Is it someone in the house that is actually even watching pornography that is triggering that teenager? Is it the device? Whatever the triggers are, we should know it and pull it away. And lastly, prayers. It cannot be overemphasized. And I will say it over and over and again. The best help, the biggest remedy we can get is the remedy that God gives. When God puts his hand, the solution is sure. And the problem is sure to go. So I hope this helped someone. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for viewing. Goodbye.